Hello, today I'm going to look at the 2022 Leaving Certificate Computer Science Section C Higher Level paper. You can see here the question carries 50 marks. Question 16A. Open the program called 16A from your device. The source code is shown below. Before making any changes, you should save your work in the using your examination number. This is how you save it if your number was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you save it as your exam number and then the question. Enter your exam number into the space provided in line 2 of your Python file. The program simulates the rolling of a die 100 times. The results of each throw is stored in a variable called throw result. Each of the 100 results are appended to a list called results as they are generated. The program also contains code to keep track of the number of times a 1 and a 2 are rolled. These are stored in a list called frequencies. But this is your sample code that's given, or your starter code that's given in your file. When the program runs, the output may look as follows. So the first thing you should do is actually run it to make sure you're getting the output as expected. So in Tani, I'm going to just simply run, and I'm getting the output dice, simulation program, results, and then I have all of the different results. Part 1. Currently the program's first line output is dice simulation program. Change the program so that the first line of output is dice simulation and analysis program. So all you're doing here is adding in 2 words into the print statement. Dice simulation, and you add in your and analysis. And then you pop in at the end your comment for answer to part 1. And you move on to part 2. Part 2. Insert a new line of code in the program to display the list of dice frequencies. When the program is run, the output may look as follows. The frequency, and remember to read the entire question. So you can see the difference between the 2 lines of the 2 outputs is this list and this line of code here at the bottom. So you want to produce the frequencies onto your screen. The frequency list tells us the number 1 has been called 14 times and the number 2 has been rolled 15 times. So number 1 was rolled 14, number 2 was rolled 15. The frequency of the number 3, 4, 5 and 6 is not calculated by the program yet. This is the reason they are all 0. So in your program, under the results, you're going to put in a print statement and you're going to print your frequencies. Make sure you spell it correctly. Press run. And here we can see that 11, number 1 was rolled 11 times and number 2 was rolled 13, and the others aren't calculated by the program. Exactly what we read in our question. So all we need to do now that that's working is answer to part 2. So we put in our print statement and that's it. Part 3. Complete the code to calculate the frequencies for the number 3, 4, 5 and 6. When the program runs, the output may now look as follows, and you can see that these frequencies are completed. The reason for that is, in the code, we need to finish this here. So at the moment, it is only calculating the frequency for 1 and 2 because that's all that's calculated in the elif statement. So we need to copy the pattern and complete it. So it's elif, throw result, and I can actually just copy this if I want and, just be careful pasting it and changing the numbers. So instead of equal to 2, I'm going to say 3. And instead of 1, I'm going to say 2. And instead of frequencies 1, I'm going to say 2 plus 1. And I'm going to keep doing that for all of them. So the throw result is equal to 4. Then the frequency at position 3 equals to frequency at position 3 plus 1. And to 5 at position 4 plus 1. I can do an elif or an else for the last one. It doesn't matter. It's equal to 6. Can't be equal to anything else anyway. You could put else in here if you wanted, but anyway, whichever way you wish to do it. So what I need to do then is just put in answer to part 3. You can do it the whole way down along. You could say start, and then if you wanted at the end of it, so that way it just saves you putting the comment in over and over again. But again, that doesn't really matter. As long as you indicate it to the examiner where you've been doing, it'll be fine. So now the frequencies are all calculating based on this if else. Like I said, if you wanted at the end, you could put in an else there instead of an elif, but it'll work regardless because there is only 6 left. So there's your comments, and that's part 3 complete. Part 4, comment out a line that displays the list of individual results. When a program is run, the output may look as follows. So you simply, there's the line that brings the individual results. If I run that, I'm just going to clear it and run it. And there I have my dice simulation game. You see from this print statement there's a blank line, and then you can see the results shown as it is exactly in the sample run of the program, which is given here. Extend the program, part 5, to display the frequency of each number in a tabular format as shown in the sample output here. There's a number of ways of doing this. You can do it in line by line, or you could actually do it in a for loop if you thought of that. I'm going to do it both ways just to show you. First thing we have to add in is the print statement dice frequency. Then we need to add in, I just want to look at it, so there's only a space between that and here, and then there's only a space there, so there's 4 dashes, and then just a number of them there. So I'm going to print them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think. When I run it now, it says dice simulation analysis program, space, your frequencies, dice frequencies, your little minus signs on your keyboard or your little dashes, and then it's going to, this part here is the tricky part. So I'm going to do it line by line, kind of more hard coded, and then I'll show you if you wanted a for loop. There's 2 ways of doing it, so we'll do both ways just as an example. So whichever way you think of it in the exam is the correct way, okay? Don't over worry about this, whatever way you can get the answer. So the first thing is we want the dice, the side of the dice, so whether it's the side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. So we're going to be printing, we'll do it the long way first. 1, comma, something else will go in here. And then we're going to print 1, 2, comma, something else will go in there. And we're going to print 3, comma, something else will go in there. And you get the idea. This is the more kind of hard-coded, less sophisticated way, but it does work. And 6 and something else is going to go in there. So I'm not finished by any means here. I'm going to look at what I have in my question, and you can see that that's tabbed across. So we know it's going to be 1 followed by a tab followed by the frequency of the dice for the number of ones. 2 followed by a tab followed by the frequency for the number of 2, and so on. So what I can do then is put in the tab. So to tab across, it's a special character now because of the way it has to be done. I put in my tab. Then I want to put in the frequencies of the 1, and we know the frequencies are coming from this if statement here. If the throw result equals 1, frequencies at position 0 is 0 plus 1. So we're going to put in the frequencies at position 0, because this is where we're counting them up. So at position 0 is the same as the 1. Side number 1 is position 0. And I'm going to do that for each of them. Instead of position 0, it will be position 1. Instead of 0, it will be 2, 3, 4, and position 5. And if I run it, I now have my dice, my frequency, and I have my tabular format exactly as it is in the sample run of the program that's given in the question. The numbers, the frequency will be different every time you do it, because obviously it's a random generation. So you're not going to get the same numbers here in your frequency, but everything else should look perfect. That's one method of doing it. There is another method that you can do using a for loop, and I'll take you through that now. So the first method is absolutely fine. If you don't think of that in the exam, and if you go straight to loops, that's also fine. I'm going to comment this out just to show you another method of answering it. A little bit more elegant, I suppose, in your coding, but it won't make any difference. So you're going to say for I in the range up to 6, print I plus 1, tab the frequency and position I. Take out there, run it again. My spelling correct. There we go. So if you don't think of that for, don't worry about it. This is fine. This is giving you the correct answer. It didn't tell you to use a for loop, so you don't have to. If you do it one at a time, down to 6, that's fine. If you do think of it, that's lovely. But I suppose it is hard in the exam to think of that. If you don't, this statement here is fine. You just understand what's going on in your code, then it might lead you to that. Part 6, extend the program so that it determines and displays the number that was rolled most often along with the frequency. For example, in the output below, the number 5 is rolled most often. You can ignore the possibility of ties. When the program is run, the output may look as follows. So the number was rolled the most often 25 times. So we want to try and find the maximum of the frequency. So the biggest number on the frequencies. What is the maximum number? What is the largest number in the frequency list? And we want to see what that is associated with. What number? So in Tony, if I look for the largest, or whatever variable you want to call it, equals the max of the frequencies, and I print the largest, just to see if it's working, I can tidy up my print statement after. It's telling me 23 is the largest. It doesn't say what that is associated with, but it tells me that 23 is the largest. So now if I fix up my print statement, the first thing I want is the number. Part 7. Extend the program to display a horizontal bar chart of the frequencies. The number of asterisks in each row should correspond to each frequency. For example, the output below, there are 8 asterisks in row 1 because the frequency of the number 8 is 1. So here we have side 1, 8 is the frequency, you have 8 stars. So the number of stars directly relates to the frequency. So this is your frequency and you want the number of stars for each of them, one under the other. Each asterisk can be printed out using the print statement print asterisk and end equals blank. When a program is run, the output may look as follows. So in here, you want to print out basically a number for each of your frequencies. So we can do a for statement. For, and it doesn't matter what you call it here. So say for a number in frequencies. For a number in frequencies, you want to print the asterisk multiplied by the number. Now there are other ways of doing it. This is just one method. And if you run that, so 19 is the number here, and that corresponds to 19 stars, and the same here, and so on. So that's one very simple way of doing it. You just, for a number in frequencies, multiply that number by star. Now, this was the last question in the paper. That particular year was a COVID paper, so there was no part B to it because of COVID measures. However, part A was, I suppose, that little bit longer to fill up the hour. So you can see that some of these might be more advanced part A questions. So that is the 2022 higher level paper. Thank you.